Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. The Niners are on a 3-game losing streak. Steve Wilkes' stock is down. Kyle Shanahan's stock is down. Brock Purdy's stock is down after being higher than any young quarterback stock has ever been. And now we got to talk to Larry about it, because last night after this game, we were both doing our shows. I don't know about you, but I feel like half the comments I got, half the super chats I got after the show were about you. Like,
about
what
me?
does Larry think? Yeah, I mean, like, you got to ask Larry about this tomorrow. Like, of course. So if you're new to the show, Larry spotted Purdy's talent before anyone and has been driving the Purdy train relentlessly. I've been the Purdy skeptic, and I guess I feel somewhat vindicated, even though it's only been 3 games. So what I want to do is ask the number one Purdy backer and the person who saw it first for a real brutally honest evaluation of this last 3 games. And the question I want you to think about and address when you're giving you this evaluation is the decline of his play the last 3 weeks. Is it his fault alone, or is it a manifestation of what's going on with the offense and the team in general?
You know, it's a great question. I mean, you got to go game to game. 3 weeks ago against the Browns, they're riding high. They beat Dallas. They're feeling good. They roll in there against what I thought was a very good defense, who seemed very prepared for them. And I thought the Browns played a really smart game, and it was a kind of a mucky day, and the guy lost a couple guys. I thought he played marginal in that game, but I thought that was his worst game. Then he bounces, and to me, that was against the number 1 D. Then he bounces back the next week against Minnesota. Going to the 4th, he's completed 85% of his passes, and he's withstood their Danielle Hunter and that whole line, and they're right there. They hadn't produced a lot of points. They'd had some turnovers, but then all of a sudden, he throws a couple picks late in that Minnesota game after the quarterback sneak, and they lose the game. And then this week, I thought kind of the same thing. I kind of felt like it was jailbreak on Brock most of the game, and he made a number of plays, but he also turned the ball over 3 times and could have been 4. So, it wasn't a good performance. I mean, there's just no way around it. But as far as, long term, I do think he's the best quarterback they have. I wouldn't suggest, hey, you know what? I think Darnold's going to do better. I saw a guy move around yesterday, get rushed pretty relentlessly. The line's not doing a great job, and he ran for a bunch of yards. He was their leading rusher. He accounted for 422 yards. To me, the worst mistake was the last mistake. Just because, floated ball with a nylon on it to, in the middle of the field, late in the game, all kinds of defenders around. Yeah, I mean, it just seems that seemed really low percentage. I would encourage everybody to watch the Kurt Warner breakdown on him, because he was very kind of positive about Purdy's day, but he seemed to blame spacing, route combinations, and things like that for a lot of what Brock went through. I'm not, he's got to own it, and of course he does. But I thought overall he looked pretty good in the last 2 games until the 4th, and then unfortunately it's a turnover league, and if you turn the ball over, you lose games, and if you don't turn it over and you play decent football, you typically win. And he turned it over, and they lost. It's not the only reason they lost, but that's part of the reason they lost.
It's the biggest reason they lost, because turnovers really are the biggest reason. He's committed 6 in the last 3 games, 4 in crunch time of the last 2 close games, which is disconcerting, considering he's been up so much. I mean, blowing teams out. Now that he's behind a little bit, in positions to lead comebacks, down 5, down 7, that's when the turnovers have really popped up, and he hasn't been in these situations very much in the NFL. And then you see that he's at a 5.1% turnover worthy percentage, which is 6th most in the NFL, behind Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, Gardner Minshew, Tyson Bagent, and PJ Walker. So it's got to come back to the turnovers. They're popping up. They were there in training camp. They weren't there for the first 10 games of his career, but now they're roaring back into the picture. And again, I ask you, is this turnover issue in particular his fault alone, or a manifestation of what's going on in the offense?
I mean, I think it's football, so it's always going to be some combination thereof. But I mean, he would never run from it. The guy's got 5 picks in the last 3 games,
And a fumble.
and a fumble. and he's got, once again, you take care of the football, you typically win games. He missed the handoff to Mitchell. At that point, he should have just thrown that ball into the ground and gone on to the next down, or run it in for, a touchdown. And he wasn't going to run it in and didn't throw it in the ground, and then decided to pass it, even though it would have been a penalty, and then got it picked. So he took a missed handoff. He had 3 mistakes on one play, and that was, in the deep red zone. That's a crusher, as you know. So
yeah,
that was a huge, huge play. But I thought the other one was worse because he kind of lost account of the defender. The second interception was the worst one. The Mike linebacker, Logan Wilson, drops. It's in a crowd. It's across the middle. It didn't have tons on it. And Logan Wilson kind of jumped in front of it right there with Jennings and makes the pick. I thought that was, you got to know where that linebacker is and how deep he is. So I don't know. That to me was the one that was more bothersome than the first. But overall, I'd have to say, from what I saw, I mean, the Niners lost that game on the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line got beat. Their defensive line never won, except for Armstead a couple times. And it was a long day at the line of scrimmage, and the Bengals were the better team. And then Burrow was spectacular. I mean, Burrow completed 18 or 19 straight against this defense. And I don't know if you saw Richard Sherman today, Grant, but man, he's like, hey, there's going to be changes. And I don't know what the changes he's referring to are, but there's a few that probably need to be made on the defensive side if this thing is going to get going.
The defense wasn't good, but the defense did force 2 turnovers. I mean, the issue why the Niners lost is what Kittle said. They said, we turned the ball over 3 times. That's a nice way to say that Brock turned the ball over 3 times. And I think what I feel about Brock is that he's a playmaker. He makes good plays with his legs. He made a number of great plays with his legs. And not just running, but like getting out of the pocket and throwing back to his left. That touchdown pass was beautiful. But I think what I feel is that despite all those good plays that he made the last 3 weeks, they couldn't crack more than 17 points. Why? Well, he's making too many negative plays. 6 turnovers in 3 games. That takes a lot of points off the board. And that's concerning to me because I always felt that those turnovers in training camp would pop back up. I always feel like you play how you practice, or you practice how you play, whatever the phrase is. And I feel like this is the Brock Purdy I was concerned would pop up. That's how I see it. This is in him.
I just think that, this is just the natural maturation of a young player. I really do. I think you have good days, you have bad days, especially early on. This guy's still a relatively young player, but to me, the things that he does well are things that are really valuable. And I think that he's got enough arm. He's never going to have the big arm. I mean, but I think he's got enough arm to win in the NFL. I just think it's a matter of, for him, being more precise with the football and being really smart. I mean, he's a competitive guy who wants to win. He's going to put the ball out there. He's going to throw the 50-50 ball and lean on his receivers to make a play for him sometimes, but you can't do that in the middle of the field with the game on the line in the fourth quarter, but at the same time, if you look at his numbers for the year, what does he have? 12 touchdowns and 5 picks, or 4 picks, or 5 picks and 12 touchdowns.
Right.
That's still not bad. It's not.
So let me ask you a question.
I think that's the best. I think also he's the best they got, to be honest.
Well, let me ask you this though: if he goes in the bye week, starts against Jacksonville, commits 2 or more turnovers and loses, and the Niners score 17 points in offense again, would you bench him?
If it depends what it looks like.
That could happen.
I mean, it really depends what it looks like. I mean, what I saw in this game was a lot of free rushers, a lot of heat on the quarterback, a lot of people sprinting at the quarterback, a 49er team that couldn't run the ball, and sometimes when they did, they got penalties, so he was behind on the chains. He also made a number of really, really good plays yesterday. He just made the 2 crushing turnovers. And that's really it. I mean, there's only 10 possessions
football
in the NFL. So if you have 3 turnovers and you take 30% of your possessions and you turn them over to the opposition, your chance of winning go way, way, way down. Just the way it is.
So let me just answer the question.
I would not. I'd stay with him. I would stay.
Oh, okay. You'd stay with him. I'd bench him. If he turns, yeah. You guys stop, man. You need a week to watch because you're losing games. You used to have it. I don't know what's going on with Brock Purdy, but I'm not putting this on the rest of the offense. Something's up with him. You take away Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, and now he has to do a little bit more. He's in closer games. And when it's, crunch time, he just gives the ball away every week. That's disconcerting. If he does it again and they lose, that's enough. He needs to take a week off at least and see what you got in Sam Darnold, because at least maybe Sam Darnold might not turn the ball over for a week. That's the job.
I mean, here's the thing. If we're going off the record, this is the record. Darnold has 61 touchdowns and 55 picks.
He hasn't played with this team yet.
Starts.
And he's the next Sam Darnold.
He throws one interception per start.
He hasn't played with this team yet, though.
Okay, but also, Brock, to this point, and even yesterday, he completed what percentage of his passes? Kind of a high percent. Darnold has never completed 60%. I mean, I know he's a bigger arm guy, and I guess if you just want to say, whatever, but do you really think that Sam Darnold is a better prospect than Brock? Because I really don't. I mean, there's nothing Brock Purdy could do to play himself out of this job because Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. No. I mean, no, for sure. Grant. But I mean, next week, I guess the Jacksonville Jaguars
4 in a row?
1 week. No, I don't think so. But okay. I mean, yes, it's a performance-based deal, right?
4 in a row is week serious. To week. How many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks lost 4 in a row in the season they won the Super Bowl?
In the season,
I know you don't know off the top of your head, but I just can't imagine.
I don't know.
4 in a row? That's a lot.
I did see something on Twitter today that Tom Brady did lose 4 in a row his second year in the league and threw a bunch of picks, like 7 or 8 picks. And that's Tom Brady, year 2. So I'm not saying that this guy's Tom Brady because I don't believe he is, but I do think he's the best quarterback they have. And I do think that I think Shanahan believes that. I think the players really believe that. I know what you're saying, though. At some point, especially if Brock
keeps taking
Fred Warner?
Shots. Did you hear Fred Warner yesterday? Like the first question to Fred Warner in the post-game press conference was, someone said, "Do you still have confidence in Brock Purdy?" Fred Warner just goes, "What do you want me to say to that?" I don't know, Larry. I feel like when a quarterback who has fewer than 16 career starts doing erratic stuff, people are like, "Do we really know this guy?" He's still green.
He is
still green.
He is, but Grant, it takes a while. I mean, this kid is 23 years old, and we're what, a dozen starts
He's
in.
24, Larry.
But I mean, he's such a young player. I mean, Steve Young didn't make it happen until he was 31. Kurt Warner, who was breaking him down today, didn't even get to the NFL until he was like 27. I'm just saying, this guy. Give this guy.
That's why I think Sam Darnold deserves a chance.
I think what it's teaching us is that there's so many things that go into playing quarterback in the NFL, and it's no different than baseball when a guy comes up and he's throwing strikes, or he's like Casey Schmidt, he looks great. All of a sudden they turn off his water. He can't handle this pitch. He's back in AAA. The league adjusts to you. You have to adjust back. If you can adjust back, you stay, and if you can't adjust back, you go. And that's going to be, every athlete's deal, and Brock's no different. So maybe the league's adjusted to some of the tendencies, Grant, that he's put on film over the course of a certain amount of time. Maybe they're adjusting to Kyle. Maybe their receivers running bad route combinations. Maybe I don't know what exactly the issues are across the board, but there's a lot that goes into it, and I think the guy's totally accountable.
You're seeing more man-to-man coverage. That's clear. That's why he's scrambling so much, for sure. But I think what also you're seeing is just the Niners supporting cast is coming back down to the mean. You lose Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, all of a sudden, you're in close games, which you haven't really been in that many close games. You've just been blowing teams out because you're on the best team. So now you're down 5 late. You're down 7 late. Like, that's a new situation for you. What are you going to do? Oh, you're going to throw back-to-back picks. Oh, you're going to lose the game. Like, maybe that's not what you'll do every time, but the fact that you've done it 2-3 times in a row is really troubling. And that's what makes me feel like, what?
You really feel like
forget Sam Darnold, but it makes me feel like this guy isn't the future. This guy isn't the franchise quarterback. That if he's actually on a team that is comparable to the team it's facing, that he can't elevate people around him. He's getting elevated, and he makes nice plays. But once it's time for him to be the hero, down 5 in the 4th quarter, he's going to throw the pick. That's how I feel.
Well, he hasn't done it a lot. I mean, if you're saying that's how you feel he's going to be going,
he hasn't been in these situations a lot. And he's been.
So you're saying basically the last couple of games is what you think he's always going to be.
I'm concerned that he doesn't have the clutch gene. He hasn't had to show a clutch gene. He's had to be clutch and be a hero the last couple of weeks, and he's been the GOAT. And so I'm not saying he's going to be the GOAT every single time he's down 5 in the fourth quarter, but I don't trust him at all. I think he's the kind of guy that can get up on you early, and if he doesn't, we'll see what happens.
I think I think we all just need to lower our expectations for what he is. This is a guy that can come in and play
Larry.
Good. What's that?
Speak for yourself, Larry.
Well, no, I'm just saying I have basically said that I think this guy's got a lot of future, and I think he's way ahead of his time, and I think he's, very, very advanced in so many ways, and I believe in him, and I won't back off of that. I think he's got the right temperament. I think he's got the right physical ability. I think he can make all the throws. I believe in Brock Purdy that he's a good quarterback, and I think he'll be their quarterback going forward. But, he doesn't. We can be honest about, his strengths and weaknesses. The guy's strengths are his processing ability and his kind of feel and kind of his calmness for the most part. And he's very, very competitive. I think those are his strengths. His weaknesses, he doesn't have the big fastball. So that means he's got to be precise. He's got to be smart with the football. He's got to be on over his, he's got to have the right mechanics. He can't just wing it. He's not like Flacco or something who just has a gun. So he's got to maximize everything. So I think you can win with this player.
Hold on.
I think the filibuster on Brock.
You keep overlooking the turnover thing, Larry. That is the whole thing with Brock. 6 turnovers the last 3 games is concerning. That is the thing with Brock. Is he a turnover machine?
Doubt.
That's it.
No doubt.
I don't care about his physical dimensions. Is he going to be turning the ball over like this? Because he can't play like Brett Favre. He's not that guy. He doesn't give you enough big plays to play like that. He was playing smart for a while. Now it feels like he's being reckless, and that's what concerns me most. So I want you to address the turnover thing, and then we can move on to the super chats.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll tell you this. I'm not concerned.
Okay,
I'm really not concerned. I think this guy. Without a doubt. Well, no, I just think this is the best player they have. And right now, what I saw, because I'm watching this thing right there, up close on the binocs. I'm watching it at the line of scrimmage, and I'm watching this guy. And he's under all kinds of duress yesterday. He's making all kinds of plays. He's running for first downs. He's making a lot of plays. He didn't make those 2 plays. They were duds. But we're talking about a guy who's made a lot of plays and won a lot of games in a short amount of time. All I would say is you can go to Sam Darnold, but to me, in the name, I think without a doubt, if you ask Shanahan, he would say that Purdy's his best quarterback, and he'll stay with Purdy until Purdy's too hurt to play. That would be my feeling.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens. We got 20 super chats to go through. Let's see if we can get them relatively quick. All day, every day, Kim says, seems Brock needs 1,000,000 weapons on both sides and 1,000 things to go right for him in order to win. Franchise. Okay, that's all day, every day, Kim. Appreciate your perspective. Alan H says BP doesn't have the same darts that Jimmy Garoppolo had in the middle throw. Seems like not an arm strength, but endurance issue. These are all late in the game. That is a good point. These are late in the game. Is it an endurance issue? Good question.
Well, last week we had to ask about whether it was a concussion issue, but they were easily his 2 worst throws right after he sustained the concussion. But let's just be honest, guys. We said it when they were riding high and they were beating Dallas and looking like the best team in football. It ain't going to be this easy. Tough days lie ahead, and there's going to be turnovers and there's going to be losses. And here we are. Now the question is, can they get out of it? And what are the real issues? Because Brock Purdy's a major issue, but Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is like 3rd on the list of major issues for the 49ers.
I don't know, man. The guy who's committing the person on the team who's committing multiple turnovers a game is the number 1 issue. He can't do that. I don't care who you are. You got to not do that because you're going to lose.
And it's always going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, it is always. That's football. I'm sorry, man. It's when he stops doing the 2 turnover a game thing, then he's not the number 1 reason they're losing. But he's on a streak right now.
They're supposed to have a killer D. They've given up 400 yards the last 2 games.
They turned over the other team twice.
Minnesota was not running the ball at all the week before against the Bears. They ran it at will. And
their defense has given up more than 23 points 1 time this year. Yeah, it could be a lot better, and we're going to talk about what's wrong with the defense, but man, the quarterback needs to stop turning the ball over. Otherwise, they're going to keep losing.
No doubt.
Lobs All Day says Purdy's last 2 games have impressed me, just like they've impressed Kurt Warner. 0 run game, bad O-line, and he was the only reason the Niners were in the game. Not going to be perfect with MVP play every game. Fair enough. Hey, those scrambles were nice. He made so many nice plays. It just feels like Dude, I think was it Jimmy Johnson that said, I don't really care how many good plays you can make for me. I care about how many bad plays you're going to make for me. I think it was Jimmy Johnson that said that. Maybe I invented it. But it's like the quarterback, I think, has a greater ability to lose the game than to win the game. You can lose the game in 2 plays as a quarterback.
But Grant, we watched all that stuff this summer in the heat, all those live drills. Who moved the ball far and away the best of any quarterback? It was Brock Purdy. And who moved the ball second? I don't know. Sometimes it was Darnold. Sometimes it was Lance. I mean, as far as what I saw, if you said what's a consistent theme this summer. So I don't know. I didn't see it. When I watched Darnold, I didn't go, there's a guy who's going to be absolutely taking over. And I think that
who turned the ball over the most in training camp?
Brock.
Right. All day, every day. Kim says the fourth is what makes franchise quarterbacks franchise. It's true. It's the fourth quarter is when you're supposed to be at your best. All Niner says, I feel like Kyle's play calling has gotten very repeated. I can almost call what's coming, and I don't even know the play. The same runs, the same crosser to Ayuk, the same screens. I'll let them know that you see it coming.
Mix it up.
Lobs all day says Montana had 3-4 INT games. Mahomes yesterday versus Denver. Well, I guess that means that Brock Purdy is those guys. James Welsh says it was unethical to play Brock Purdy. My education is in neurocognitive science. Research shows 9-day minimum recovery time for minor concussions. NFL needs to implement automatic 1-game relief mandate. I don't know, James Welsh.
He was concussed.
Grant, he should not have played that game.
He
should not have played that game. No, I mean, there's something to that. Because the way I saw it was he had 3 turnovers and could have had 5. There was a throw to Logan Wilson in the second quarter that got tipped around. He shouldn't have been playing in that game. And he made a lot of nice plays. He should not have been playing in that game. And then he smacked his head on the ground. Ooh, that looked like it could have been a suicide.
He was a leading
Lobs
rusher.
all day is fired up today. I appreciate you coming here, man. Kyle embarrassed you today with your question about QB change, Grant. Watch the tape and real football people know how good Purdy is playing. Yeah, man, I'm super embarrassed.
I missed your question, man. Was it can you ask it again?
I asked. I was like, are you going to consider making a change at quarterback during the bye week? And if not, why? And he was like, no. He said no. And I was like, why? And he was like, because you don't make a quarterback change for no reason. I was like, boom, great answer. Thank you. That was cool.
Look at you. That's what I like about you. You'll go for it.
Yeah, I don't have to
question. I wasn't there today.
I don't have to
frustrated today.
If Kyle gets mad at me and gives me attitude with his answer, good. That makes it even better. I like Kyle. I think he likes me too. We get a kick out of each other. And sometimes he tries to smack me down with my question. I really don't mind. I think those are those dramatic moments.
Has he smacked you down with a question all year?
I mean, he kind of tried to in this one. He didn't like my question, but I feel like those are the best moments because I feel like press conferences are really boring. It's nice when something happens in a press conference, and I'll be the guy. I'll be the fall guy. I'm just saying. Jewish guy says,
"Excuse me, Kyle. How is George Odom's elbow?"
Come on,
Kyle.
Come on.
How is
he's not prepared for?
Ray McLeod's quad?
Can't stand it. I'm sorry. Jewish guy says, well, one of you asked CMC, have you always been able to decide when you come out for rest? Yeah, I think it's time. I will. Fish and Chip says, LK, do you really believe Kyle Shanahan can produce a ring?
Well, you know what? I'm hoping. I'll say this. His dad produced 2 and then, got really, and it ended because of, failings on the defensive side personnel wise. I think it may, history may repeat itself. If Kyle doesn't make it, it might be because of, a defense that lets him down.
Yeah. Hold on. Matt McEwen says Brock's fourth quarter numbers not good. Let's see. What are his fourth quarter numbers? Down, yards to go, field position, fourth quarter, quarterback rating 82. That's interesting. So his quarterback rating in first quarter, 112. Second quarter, 118. Third quarter, 107. Fourth quarter, 82. Quarterback rate, a completion percentage, 60. Interesting. Something to monitor for Brock Purdy. And it really goes to show you.
It also goes to show they run the ball a lot in the fourth quarter up.
Yeah, but you think you know a guy, and then he starts 13 games, and then he starts 25 games, and then it's 40, and then you learn so much more. So I'm not saying we've learned that Brock is bad in the fourth quarter, but it's now a question. It's now something we have to monitor.
It's, people thought, wasn't Kaepernick on Sports Illustrated? He's going to be the best.
Of all time.
The very best. Yeah.
Ever. Matt McEwen says Brock's
go that way.
It didn't happen. Brock's fourth quarter number's not good. Base Spokane Niner fan says, I don't know, sounded like Kittle was pointing blame at Brock. That's what I thought. Because I was like, man,
it's funny. Can you show me that? Because I'll say this. I went and saw the Kittle thing. Didn't he say, Grant, that we need to run the ball more?
Yes.
I thought he said we need to commit to the run more.
But when he asked, like, why are you losing? Like, I asked, like, did you guys get overconfident? Did you guys, lose your focus, whatever? He's like, no, like, we're committing penalties and turning the ball over. And it's like, when he says we're turning the ball over, like, man, it's one person. I don't know, sounding like, yeah. So him, 808 Niner says it doesn't matter how many good plays he made. The picks were bad. The first one was just stupid. He is trying to live up to the hype. Too many bad plays.
The first one, it was not stupid. I think the first one is just, a guy who's competitive. He misses the handoff. He doesn't realize there's the offensive linemen are downfield. He doesn't want to run because he's got the concussion. So then he looks to throw.
Why would he not realize the offensive linemen were downfield to run play? He'd have to assume they're downfield.
I mean, on when he missed the handoff, he tried to make a play. He looked like he was going to run himself. I'm saying if you continue with the run,
slide,
just run.
Just go down.
No penalty.
Yeah, just go down.
Once you miss the handoff,
don't make it worse.
You had to run yourself.
Yeah. Dan says sometimes when it rains, it pours. They weren't going 17-0. They're not as bad as they've been. Can't overlook the mental aspect of the game. I feel like it's very much the mental aspect of the game that's going on right now. He's the only reason we've had a chance to win. Fred, lobs all day. Okay. So he giveth and he taketh away. Ivan Tina says, guys, the drop-off ain't game to game. Number 13 drop-off is first half to second half. Not like he's blowing whole games, not to his defense, but that's the solution. Might be quarter to quarter. Sven says, why are we leaving out the part where Fred said Brock is the Niners' best chance to win? Don't paint Fred's comments as something that it isn't. I didn't paint nothing. Stephen Pryor says, Grant, I saw Caleb Williams' jersey on your couch when you moved your chair. Keep it in your closet. It's Brock's team. I am not that impressed with Caleb Williams, but I'm not impressed by anyone. Uchenna says, Larry, did you really say Purdy is better than Herbert?
Yes, I did. No, I said that I'd rather have Purdy than Herbert because I don't believe in Herbert as a winner, and I do believe in Purdy as a winner. And I realize Herbert is 6'5", 240 and has awesome arm and looks incredible, but nobody's lost more football games than that guy since 2020.
Is it him or is it Brandon Staley? I'd like to know.
That's a big question for sure.
Brandon Staley might be the worst coach in the league.
Staley's bad, but I mean, you can't say that this guy doesn't have weapons. My God, he's had a lot of talent around him. So I don't know. I mean, I went and did a breakdown of these two guys, and Purdy beat him in every single category, as far as production across the board. So I mean, it's like,
let me ask you this: which quarterback do you think Kyle Shanahan would rather
have? He might be a little fickle, so who knows? If he's loyal, he would want Purdy. If he's fickle, he would want Herbert. No, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure Herbert was a big-time star, and everybody always thinks, hey, man, if I could take this big-time star, I could win. But, man, he just hasn't won a lot with the Chargers. He did look good last night against the Bears, but
I'd love to see Brock Purdy on the Chargers. That would be interesting. Fish and Chip says, many of us don't believe Kyle Shanahan can, and we ain't stupid like most of you think we are. We have years of football experience and see the flaws and weaknesses as Fish and Chips. I don't think Kyle Shanahan can, but he can come close. Wave 9 says, why are we talking about Brock's age, Larry? Trey was 23 and traded because we are in win now. I thought we can't have growing pains this year. Double standard.
You're clearly right. They're
one of the Matt McEwen says, Larry, you said he's a franchise. Now we have to lower expectations. What? Oh, man, they're on you, Larry.
I would say absolutely this is your best guy. I mean, that's really the only debate. I mean, is he going to be the franchise guy or not? I mean, the same way that everybody's you always continue to evaluate. So we'll see what he becomes. I really believe he's going to be that guy. And I don't have a problem saying it. And I still believe, despite the fact he's thrown interceptions in the fourth quarter of the last two games, that he is actually their best quarterback and probably going to be their guy for quite a while. I really do believe that. So we'll see.
M. Reynolds says this is the player Brock was in college. It's the player he was in training camp. Miguel says, you media people, Larry Lombardi, Huberman, never gave Trey Lance an off day or game excuse because he was young. You guys cooked Trey. No excuse for Brock Purdy.
Well, first of all, nobody cooked. Nobody cooked Trey. That's for sure.
I was giving Trey all kind of grace. Boxing fans.
First of all, I'm the one who says I still believe in Trey. I believe Trey's going to be good someday. I mean, it wasn't going to happen by Heinz Field week 1. That was the debate.
Boxing fans says Giants lost 4 straight and beat the Patriots Super Bowl. Hey, thanks for going back. You did it. That could be. So that was when they were 9-7 that year, were they not? 4 straight. Beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game. Kyle Williams helped. Uchenna says, how come Trey Lance didn't get the same excuse? Oh, people are on you today. RG says if the defense could get off the field and give the offense 2 or 3 more opportunities, Brock could get more time on the field still year 2. Man, the defense did force 2 turnovers yesterday.
The defense was terrible.
It did force 2 turnovers, though. I mean, it did something, but it was terrible.
The defense,
Miguel, it was terrible.
Wait. Time out. I love the defense as much as anybody, but they gave up 400 total yards for the second week in a row. I mean, this team could not run the ball at all prior to this week. They ran for 134 yards. This defense doesn't set the edge. They don't get off blocks. They don't get any consistent pressure on the quarterback, despite having big-name guys.
In the offense.
I don't see anybody really striking anybody with any force. I mean,
in the offense.
It's a lot of grabbing. It's a lot of sloppy tackling. I mean, to me, Grant, it's about, if you want to talk about it for real, they've lost players here, man. They lost Ebukam. They lost Al Shair, who's a badass.
They added Javon Hargrave, and they were supposed to be so good. They made that choice.
I mean, just against all these guys, Ebukam, Aziz, Ward, Tart, Mosley. What do those guys all have in common? They're freaking great against the run, setting the edge, standing up, and they replaced them with guys that aren't as good at doing that. And now collectively, their defense can't stop the run. They've gotten rumbled on by 2 pretty mediocre backs the last couple of weeks. That's not
why they lost. Miguel says it's so easy to blame the defense, but the reality is Brock Purdy lost us 2 games. Dink and dunks don't win Super Bowls, and turnovers don't. Don Sandry says Brock's Achilles heel is his arm. When processed wrong, he turns it over, throwing guys who are not there. Defense is tricking him and picking him. Maybe. Jack Jackson, great name. Remember how many dropped interceptions Purdy had in most of his career? Grant always said, what if they start catching them? Maybe this is just the law of averages. Maybe Brock Purdy's a perfectly normal quarterback, and he's just got lucky the first 10 games of his career, and this is the other kind of luck. I don't know. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says he's struggling, but let's not be so quick to toss aside such a young quarterback. Prisoner of the moment society. Wasn't Montana 2-6 in his first 8 starts with interceptions? Good perspective. James Welsh says, I'm not blaming the concussion. I knew Brock Purdy was not going to be a franchise quarterback. I wasn't fooled like you, Larry. I watched him in college. Same dude. Thanks, James. Santos says, Kyle and his answer laughed my ass off. I like moments like that with Kyle. Teron Lewis, holding Purdy accountable is kryptonite to some fans. If they kept their heads out of his lap, they'll see Purdy as an issue just like the defense. That was graphic. Great one, 765 says Brock Purdy lost all 3 games, 17 points, 3 weeks in a row. Defense allowed 17 points going into the 4th, and Brock Purdy threw the game away with that interception in our own 20. I got to agree with that. I really don't. You can say the defense was bad, and it was, but I think it's hard to blame the defense for the losses when Brock did what he did. Lobs All Day says issue on offense is O-line and Kyle's putrid play calling and lack of creativity. This offense looked very different on tape when McDaniel was here. Maybe Jimmy was right when he said that Kyle's plays freaking suck. That's a good point, though, man. Like, can we come back to that? Lobs, you're on fire. So, McDaniel leaves last year. The Niners offense tanks. They trade for Christian McCaffrey. Everything's okay. Brock Purdy comes in and saves them. But it's like, now that's kind of worn off, this tape on this offense, and it's time for Kyle to show some creativity, and it's like in Miami. It's a good point, Lobs. Calba, watching Brock Purdy won't work. Benching Brock Purdy won't work. To think he should never have a tough stretch in his first year as a starter is a joke. He'll get better with experience. A month from now, everybody will love him again. Okay. I'm open-minded. Eric Dowling says, I'm just curious, have you noticed since Kyle Shanahan has been the head coach that every quarterback has been good or really bad in Kyle's offense? Yeah, I've noticed. Thanks, Eric. Can't Get Right says, if the Niners can't score over 17 points, they will lose 3 out of the next 4 games. Yeah, it's good to score more than 17. Blood Moon says, wonder why Chris wouldn't want to lead. Guys love him. Chris Kasarik. He doesn't want to watch coverage. We asked him. He's really funny. He's like, I don't want to watch that part. I just want to focus on defensive line.
What are they going to do? I mean, are they going to do anything? Are they just going to? Are they going to sit back and they got to make changes on defense? They will be making changes on defense.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through these. Can Jair Brown play corner? No. Uchenna says, not funny close. Thing in preseason, Lance threw that same interception like Purdy threw to that linebacker. Everyone killed Lance. Why not the same energy for Purdy? Because he has, he has stock and he has done good things, and people weigh that. He's won 10 games. He still has a winning record. It's just a troubling trend. I think that's partly why Lance hadn't accomplished those things. Keneal Mason Banks' injury is concerning if Trent ain't 100%. That's a problem. The Banks injury. Thomas Tyler, too few talented ascending players on this team. It's getting a little old. Matthew Sanders says the worst part of this, Bosa making Parag Marate right about every penny he has ever pinched. Bosa on his stomach like a slip and slide on the lawn. Yikes. HR says it took NFL defensive coordinators a full season of games to figure out Brock. Will it take that long for these haters to figure out Grant is right? Haters. Sorry, people got my back today. Crazy Gaming says Wilkes is a problem and the defense is the only problem. Well, hold on. Wilkes is a problem and the defense is the only problem. Your hatred of him is laughable at best. Purdy will bring stability to this team. Whoa. The only problem? What's wrong? Then why is the offense scoring 17 points a game? Maybe it's not.
How about this? You may want to use what I would do is play. Jordan Mason is this big, fast, young, talented wide receiver who runs with power.
Running back.
And McCaffrey is also one of your better offensive weapons. How about with Debo out, you put Mason on the field, flex out McCaffrey, and get your five best weapons on the field? Why don't we start there? And then, obviously, now Banks is out at left guard, so you got Feliciano at left guard. Otherwise, I would say you may want to plug Feliciano in for Brendel at center to try to get a little bit more stout because you're not opening any holes in the middle of your line. And in this last game, you couldn't run wide. So if you can't run wide and you can't run between the tackles and you're a running football team, it's going to be a tough day for any quarterback. I think that's a big problem for the offense.
Loner Incognito says Niners lost in front of Niner legends since it was Alumni Day. If they don't take these games seriously, then how can I take them seriously? I didn't know that. Good point. Sean O'Leary says just joining. But in case he was missed, Hufanga, how many shoulder tackles did he try to make and miss? Tons of huge runs and catches where he bounced off a guy 3-4 yards beyond the line. That's a good point. Hufanga has really come back down to earth this year.
Another guy, great guy. They get some guys in this defense that are just great guys, but they ain't making plays. I mean, that's really the bottom line. You got to make plays, and you got to run into somebody. And they traded ball skills in Gibson and Hufanga for thumpers in Ward and Tart, and now you're looking up going, they don't stop the run the same way. So, last year, every team that played the Niners lost the next week. They were a lot more physical. This year, who's going to strike you out there? Greenlaw. And that's pretty much it. Maybe Warner. And everybody else is pretty much, grab tackling and going for your shoes. I mean, the tackling was bad again.
I don't know why the Niners spent all that money on Hargrave. That was a mistake. They should have brought back Aziz and Jimmy Ward and Ebukam and Amenihue. Like, the Eagles probably are laughing. They got Jalen Carter for way cheaper, and he's way better than Javon Hargrave. Anyway, Matt McEwen says, Larry, what are all these statistical categories Purdy beats Herbert? I'll help. Herbert has way more fourth quarter comebacks. Way.
I mean, everyone there is. I mean, whatever you want to say. I mean,
we don't have to really do this. We don't really have to do this. It was a rhetorical question. We don't have to do this.
But I mean, seriously, I literally could give you every single one if you wanted.
I don't.
I
really
you
don't.
Want every single. I feel don't. You want.
I'm begging you. I'm so begging you not, please.
But it's everything.
Okay.
Go look at it.
Larry getting cooked on live. Damn, what I miss. LOL, just playing. Picking a pickle. Shanahan always has a midseason slump. They'll be all right. That's probably true. G Cole Travels Vlog says the Niners draft up again for first round quarterback next year. TBD really real says defense has to be great, but offense could be mid. I don't know. I think the offense needs to be held to the same standard. Fish and Chips says about time you grilled Kyle. It's been 7 years. Oh, okay. I'm working on it. David E says congratulations, Grant. Brock has had a couple bad plays and otherwise played well. Time to celebrate. Haters love to hate. David E. Thank you. Matthew Rowley says Eagles going after Aaron Donald. Is that?
Seriously? That would not surprise me.
Wow.
In fact, I got a guy in August who called me and said, "Watch the Eagles at the deadline get Aaron Donald."
Wow,
that was in August. Cool. We'll see.
Maybe the Niners should do something then. Kev F says, "Where was quality control the last 3 weeks? Working, not well though, because clearly that's why the Niners lost." Don Sandry says, "I like Krug's thinking and starting Feliciano at center. Move Brendel to guard for an ailing Banks." I don't think they're going to do that. Jim Washington says, can we trade? I think so. Trade for a wide receiver and put Debo in the slot. Okay.
It would be, I'll say this about the Niners. Think about all their weapons. Jennings, super physical. Kittle, super physical. Debo, super physical. All these guys, even Ayuk, very, very physical. They're not the most dynamic group of guys as far as speed. They don't have a lot of speed at wide receiver. I wonder if it would be interesting. That's the one thing that to me they could get that would maybe open up the field. I don't. Maybe it's Danny Gray. I don't know.
Danny Gray?
Maybe it's more use of Ray, but it takes them a while to move the ball down the field.
That's true. JM617 says has been a member for 6 months. Nice. 12 play says SD with the starters for 3 games will cook with Kyle. We shall see. Lobs all day. Lacks creative intelligence. Kyle has tunnel vision. He can't think outside of the box like McDaniel. I have realized this off tape and draft picks. I think McDaniel's a better offensive coach than Kyle. It's an interesting distinction. It's crazy to think the coaching staff the Niners had when they went to the Super Bowl. Kyle and McDaniel and D'Amico and Saleh on the same team. 4 head coaches that team had. Amazing. Now, they got 2, but Wilkes looking kind of shaky. Niners Daddy says, is Larry still delusional or join us in reality that Purdy isn't a franchise quarterback? Would you guys be nice to Larry? Please. He's a guest.
He's up, man. Man, he's had enough, man.
Come on, man. We all like Larry, man. Rafa says Fernando. Oh, okay. Night Tide says the final score does not paint the narrative. The game was 17-10 in the fourth and Brock crumbled twice. Defense was bad, but they gave us a chance. Exclamation points.
Wait. The defense got freaking lucky. Let's be honest. They missed a field goal. They turned the ball over on a ridiculous ball deep in the red zone. They could have easily been up 24-10 at the end of the first half. To me, the first half, the Niners defense got gutted. That's the truth.
The Bengals had 20 first downs in the first half. That had to be right.
That was the story. Now, we can talk about Brock, but in the first half, you're not sitting there going, Brock sucks. You're going,
nah.
This defense is getting gutted. That was the story. And then
by the end of the game, you're like, you can't really blame the defense for those turnovers. Too.
But everybody knows that you're going to, at some point, Grant, the guy was going to have a game or two where he throws a couple picks in the fourth quarter. Does that undo the 10-0 record that he started with and all the incredible plays the guy made yesterday under duress? For people to be like, he's mid, he sucks.
That does what he did yesterday.
Knee-jerk reaction.
Does what he did yesterday. But I don't know if it undoes it. I don't know if it defines him. I don't know if you're asking does it define him? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. It's early in his career. We'll see.
Now, would you guess that he's if you got to say he's one or the other, no on the fence, what do you think he is? You think he's, Jeremy Lin, fast start, washout, tons of picks, backup quarterback out of the league? Or do you think he's closer to everyday starting quarterback? You win playoff games, you threaten for championships. Which category do you think he's in?
I think the turnovers might be the undoing of him. I think he might become a guy who turns the ball over too much. And if he's on a great team, that he might, be able to rein that in. But once he has to step up and carry and be a hero and bring the team from behind, I think he's going to be a guy who turns the ball over too much. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong because I really like watching him play. He's delightful. He's a playmaker. He doesn't play it safe. I just feel like this is going to be the undoing of him. These turnovers. Hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Okay. I see. Yeah. I'll go the other way. I think he's going to rebound.
Wow.
I think they're going to get a little healthier. I think they're going to tighten it up a little bit. They're going to get some help on defense at the trade deadline, probably in the next 24 hours. I would imagine Lynch will make a deal or two. I think they'll get a little help. I think they'll get a little healthier. They'll get a little rest. Even if you
with a little help from their friends,
even if you wanted to say the guy has limitations, you still have to decide, does he play over the other two options? And I think the answer, and no doubt, is yes. So I don't see any world that Kyle dumps him.
That's not what you asked me, though. I was just asking. You asked me if I thought he was the real deal Holyfield.
No, I
said no.
You said no.
I don't. Thomas Schultz says these skids and bad starts would not happen with a coach like Tomlin. All of this is on Kyle's ego and leadership. What leadership? I think that's the problem. I think he had leaders in his back pocket for years on his team. Robert Saleh, he's one hell of a coach, Larry. What he's doing with the Jets and Zach Wilson is he could be the coach of the year, Robert Saleh. He's that good.
But they didn't score any points this week at all. Didn't they score 9 until the last play? I don't know. I do think Saleh's a pretty good coach. I think McDaniel's a really good coach. I think to me, in my mind, D'Amico was on path a week or two ago to be the coach of the year. I think he might be the best coach.
Daza0187 says, feels like a broken record, but no jet sweeps for Ray Ray. They've worked in the past. They have worked in the past. The end arounds too. Niners Daddy says, Wes Purdy's best quality, clutch interceptions. Now that's just rude and snarky. Jimmy Kwan says, Kyle will not win a Super Bowl until he comes full circle as a coach. Drafting, drawing up plays, player selection, adapt as game goes is a maturation process. Kyle isn't ready to come full circle. There, I said it. Jimmy.
Wow. Jimmy Kwan.
Jimmy Kwan. Daza says Brock is about a 12th to 15th ranked quarterback. Okay. Lobs all day is still here all day. Tunnel vision. Hired Steve Wilkes instead of the guy with 10-1 record versus him and runs wide 9. Jim Schwartz comp picks. Jim Schwartz. They should have got him.
Something told me there's probably some point. Don't you get the feeling that nobody likes Jim Schwartz? Because he does great things almost everywhere he goes, but he seems like nobody wants him. He doesn't get the most coveted gigs. Well,
Cleveland must be happy. David Baker says, you both have been in the locker room. What is the attitude from the players? We'll see on Wednesday. There weren't a lot of people in that locker room last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's just come on, you're not going to get anything out of the players. I mean, I saw a bunch of the interviews. Aaron Banks was like, hey, we need to execute. I mean, that's really the bottom line is that. It's kind of a boring answer. They need to execute. They don't execute, and they're not putting their best players on the field. I'm starting to wonder, Grant, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm starting to wonder if they're too not physical enough at safety that they ought to play the Penn State kid over Gibson.
Why not?
They need a shakeup. They got to do something different, man, because they're not stopping the run.
How about Talanoa? He's been missing a lot of tackles. Wave 9 says, Larry, give us Trent Baalke on Brock's turnovers. Go.
Grant, I'll tell you, this guy, Lowry, I was talking to Lowry about it the other day, and I'll tell you, Grant, this guy's he's never torn the ACL, and that's what I don't like about the kid, because I like a guy coming off a torn ACL. But I'll tell you, he's got some moxie, The kid's got some talent, no doubt about it. And, the ball comes out on time. And, at the end of the day, I think his teammates, really appreciate him. And he's a hell of a player. He's not a linebacker, but he's a hell of a player.
You didn't address the turnovers. You will not address this topic. Let the record show that Larry will not address the turnover topic. Crazy Gaming says, notice how when a quarterback gets mopped by a team like Denver Chiefs, nobody talks about it much, but a quarterback like Purdy has a bad streak and it's all people can talk about. Purdy's a great quarterback and will be fine. Okay. I think what I've learned is that Brock Purdy's better than Patrick Mahomes. Thank you very much, Crazy Gaming. I appreciate you.
I don't know if he's a great quarterback, but I think this guy is going to be a very good quarterback for the 49ers for a while. I don't think he's going to be out in like 3 weeks. I don't think it's one of those things. Remember when Kaepernick dropped back to pass in Arizona and the guys dropped into a soft zone, read his eyes, and he threw 2 pick sixes? Do you remember that game? He was done from that point on. Because everybody kind of found him out. Oh, you know what? He doesn't really read coverage. He's just kind of, he throws everything, no anticipation. You just read his eyes and break on the ball. Well, I think Brock Purdy is more than that. I mean, the ability to process, make decisions, I think he's better than that. So we'll see. I mean, Grant, there's no doubt. You cannot have multiple turnovers in the fourth quarter of an NFL game in back-to-back weeks, and it's not a sustainable deal. But does it define him? I think that's too much. I really do.
We'll see. To be determined. Jalen LeGrant says this is normal team with 3-5. Well, this is normal. Team was 3-5 this point last year. It's true. And then they traded for McCaffrey. Love to know what they're going to do with the deadline tomorrow. Every time Kyle takes a question from Grant, I think of Chappelle's Black Bush skit when Chappelle Bush says, damn, I knew I shouldn't have called on this dude. Yeah. I really like Kyle Shanahan. I mean, do I think he's a great coach? I don't know, but I really enjoy.
I wish I'd heard it, man. I've heard every question this year. So did he get agitated?
Yeah, it was great. It was just, have you considered making a change at quarterback during the bye week? And if not, why? And he just went, no. And I said, why? He said, because you don't bench a quarterback for no reason. I was like, thank you. That was a really good answer. I like that. Wow. That's a good point. You don't bench a quarterback for no reason.
So he's behind Purdy. Yeah, I'm right. He is behind Purdy still.
Larry, you're always right. Didn't you know that? Dazza says, can someone teach them to tackle and can we get rid of Oliver? Oliver. Whoa.
Did you see my tweet? Did I tell you my son actually tweeted out something today? I'm very proud of my son. See if I can.
Okay. Real quick, Brock Purdy's ball says, I just want to know if Grant gets tired of reading super chats. No, Please keep them coming. Gregory, you find it. Gregory Koo says, do you think Wilkes hiring and non-firing is because he is a minority coach? Our last 3 assistants who became head coach brought in picks, Fangio, Schwartz, none. Don't know. Interesting question. Would love to know, but I have no idea, and I'm not going to speculate. Nobody was comparing Cap to Montana, says Daza. No, but what's his face? Jaworski said he was going to be the best quarterback of all time. Josh Wyatt says, remember week 1? We said Kyle doesn't get a pass for injury, and he doesn't get a pass for performance either. This is Kyle's guy, and he's accountable. It's true. And you don't get to bench him either. That's probably why he's not. Jax Glory says, if Lance played half as good as Brock, who is still top 3 in passing rating and QBR in the entire NFL, Grant, Jesse, and Ryan, nipples would be rock hard. Thank you for the image. That's disgusting. Mike Baker says, you mentioned wide 9 defense earlier. Can you explain? Yes. Wide 9 defense is a 4-man line where the strong side defensive end, the guy on the tight end side, is not lined up inside the tight end or head up with the tight end, but way the hell outside the tight end. You don't see many teams do this. Usually teams that have edge setters outside the tight end are 3-4 teams, guys with 5 on the line. But to have a spread out 4-man line is bold. And not many teams can do it well. The Niners did it well for a while, and Steve Wilkes doesn't know what he's doing with it. Not his background. Did I do a good job with that, Larry? I tried to do it in 30
I think
seconds.
so. I think you're pretty close. I mean, also, let's be totally truthful about this. They let go. They made a choice. And their choice was give money to Hargrave and say goodbye to Ebukam and Amenahue and Willis.
Bad choice.
And then that's fine. But then the guys that you replace those guys with, Beal and Bryant and Farrell, not so much. So, and that's where they're at.
Okay, I want to switch topics to the defense real quick. I found an interesting stat. So the Niners defense is in shambles, and they can't get pressure on the quarterback. They have all these great pass rushers, but they're not getting sacks.
Right.
But what they are getting is pressure. Their pressure rating, according to PFF, is like 24%, which is about 5th or 6th best in the NFL, and it's better than they were last year when they were roughly 22. So to me, what that says is it's a coverage issue. If the pressure is up and the pressure is top 5, 6, then they say marrying coverage and pass rush.
Right.
The coverage is too soft. They got to be a little bit more in these. They got to give the pass rush an extra beat. If you can get the quarterback to hitch one time, meaning, it's over for him. I think that's what's going on here. And that's why I think they got to trade for a cornerback.
And I think you're absolutely right. Isaiah Oliver can't mirror players up and down the field. And if you're going to have a pass rush, or if you're going up against Joe Burrow and the ball's coming out in 2.4, you got to hug up on the receivers and take them away. The coverage, I think what you're just saying, was just soft. It was a soft coverage underneath. It was too easy. And the same thing, we've watched it in 2 weeks. What are the combined throws and attempts the last 2 weeks? These guys are like 67 for 77. I mean, it's like ridiculous. They're completing things at will. Burrow and Cousins just sitting there like this all day long. So, I mean, that is the major problem. Their coverage is not tied to their rush, but they're not getting home fast enough, and the coverage isn't tight enough. And the bottom line is, outside of Lenore, I really don't see a guy who's an athletic enough guy to really mirror these top-tier receivers and not commit penalties. Oliver can get twisted into a pretzel. Ward had PI on like the first 5 plays of the second half. He's just grabbing guys. He only got called for it once, but that can't continue. So they got to find coverage guys. And if it's Womack or Luter, great, because those guys don't cost you anything. But you got 24 hours basically to get somebody, and you can't fake it. So I would go get Jalen Johnson. The question is, what round pick are you willing to give him?
I'll give him a second. I think they got to get Jalen Johnson. If they don't get Jalen Johnson tomorrow, I'm going to be disappointed. Let's check out my sponsor real quick, BetUS. Let's check out the spread for tonight's game, which starts any minute. Ooh. Raiders, Lions at home, -7. Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo. It's an old grudge match. You throw out the records when those two guys face each other. What do you like? That's 7 points. What do you think?
Oh, Lions.
Yeah.
Already bet it.
You already bet it?
I already bet it.
Well, if you want to bet it, go to BetUS now. Sign up with the link in the description. You get 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. We would go over Niner lines, but they got the week off. So this is the game of the night. Raiders, Lions. If you want to bet on it, you got like 4 minutes, and BetUS is the place to go. Thank you very much, BetUS. All right. Jalen Johnson in particular. What do you think of these rumors? Do you think the Niners will trade for Jalen Johnson in the next 20 hours?
They need to badly. He had a pick six 2 weeks ago. He's a little dinged up, I think, right now, but swagger, confidence, upside, youth. You know what I mean? He's good. He's really good.
Mhm.
Tenacious West Coast kid. Really, really good cover guy. Lots of swagger. I love it. I love it. In fact, in some ways, he might be the best corner out there when you factor in cost of what it's going to take to get him and then what he's actually going to deliver. I think he's a high-end player. I really like him. He's aggressive and really has a lot of swagger. And then he can hit and he can cover. Yeah, and I like that pick. But to me, you're not rushing the passer. Chris said it in camp. He's not going to run his number ones all day. So the backup defensive ends are going to play. So I don't know. They don't seem like they're getting home. I would like to see a little more speed on the defensive line.
I think the Niners know what they need. They've been linked to Jalen Johnson. They're not dumb. The question is, do they believe in themselves enough to spend what it takes to get Jalen Johnson? Like, if they get Jalen Johnson, are they thinking to themselves, that's the one piece we needed? Or are they thinking, we're more than one piece away? And trading a second plus for him would make us better, but wouldn't necessarily put us over the top. And that would hurt us next year going forward. So I'm curious to see, like, why wouldn't you do this deal?
Yeah, I think
why wouldn't you do it?
I think they will get a deal done.
Yeah.
Probably for somebody like that. And I think they will give up their second round pick. It's going to be a late second round pick. They have a ton of picks. It's a fairly deep roster. Maybe it's a deal where you give up your second round pick, but maybe you get a day 3 pick in return. So you don't, who knows? I mean, but I think I would definitely do it. You're inside your Super Bowl window. You got George Kittle and Trent Williams in their prime. Seize the moment. Yes, it's been a rough start, but I mean, heck, you just honored the 88 Niners. They were 6-5 and won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you can turn your season around. I don't think Lynch is going to quit. I think he's going to add something.
Okay. Last topic. What changes do you think are coming to this team? This is the time. It's the bye week, time for self-reflection. And there's a lot of different directions the Niners could go. What do you think they're going to do?
I think they're going to add another corner and move Lenore inside. I mean, my son tweeted this out. I teased it before. Isaiah Oliver has allowed 100% completion percentage
I saw that.
when targeted in 4 straight games. 8 targets, 8 catches, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Bengals. There's no resistance there. Now, he made some good plays, and I like him in a rotation, but not as your main primary guy, especially against some of the shiftier guys. You saw it a couple weeks ago. This guy cannot mirror double move guys who are super shifty. So if you ever get into a big time battle,
what did the Niners think they were getting with Isaiah Oliver? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I mean, he's a nice guy, but I mean, they lost in physicality because he's not the hitter that Ward is. I don't think he's nearly as intimidating or as explosive. And he's kind of a grab tackler. He made some good. I'll say this though, he made some good plays yesterday. I thought yesterday was one of his better games, to be completely honest. I just think that smaller, quicker slot receivers, he can't mirror them, and it's not even close. So the coverage has to be really soft, and it's just too easy for these quarterbacks to pick you apart. So I think they need more help at the corner. I agree, but I also think they need more rush.
Another change I think is coming. I think they might drag Steve Wilks out of the booth and bring him down to the field if they don't fire him. And I'm not sure that they'll fire him because that's kind of doesn't exactly project confidence. But when asked on the conference call today, will you consider having Steve Wilks leave the booth and call plays from the sideline? Kyle Shanahan said that's something we're going to talk about during the bye week. So that sounds like another change. And I don't know if that's just moving deck chairs in the Titanic or whatever, but that's something.
Well, and I don't know the details of the nuance of their situation and how they communicate, but communicating between coaches and players on game day is vital to the winning process, regardless of your game plan. So if there's some kind of communication breakdown from the field to the booth, if Daryl Tapp or somebody has to be an intermediary, if Fred Warner has to be the only guy who talks to the defensive coordinator, I don't know what their setup is and how they're communicating and if they're communicating, but that's important that be an open line. I mean, if the players don't feel like they can communicate with Steve or there's some breakdown in communication, that is an issue. You do have to communicate during the game.
No question. Jalen LeGrant says team need another wide receiver stretch the field for tight end. Danny Gray, where are you? Niners daddy says, remember Lance multiple interception games? He didn't last. It's true. Domain Threat says, sure, Purdy has made mistakes, but the consistent issue on offense is the O-line stinks, even worse without Trent Williams. That's just the fact. That is just a fact. Jalen LeGrant says,
Jalen Moore, I thought, stood up in pass protection the last couple of days for the most part. But, you know, to me, the Brendel play where DJ Reader picked him up and moved him back 4 yards, I mean, or whatever, that was almost like something from a Hollywood movie. I haven't seen an offensive lineman get crushed like that in quite a while. So I don't know. Yep. Maybe they need to be a little bit more stout inside because it doesn't seem like there's too many running lanes between the tackles right now.
Jalen LeGrant says, Larry, give me a pig and a pickle in Balky voice. Go get Crosby. No. LeGrant, not for $2.
You gotta have Max. The guy gets it done, man.
David Worst says Seattle traded for Leonard Williams. That's a big move for them. They also got Frank Clark. Caesar says, does having a quarterback with limited arm strength coming home to roost need to rely on anticipatory throws? Now defenses are keying in.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a big arm, but it's a pretty consistent theme. It's like you don't want to throw late in the down across the middle into a crowd with not much on it and not much accuracy.
It's about it.
And not taking down the linebacker. I mean, you know, that's just kind of a rule of thumb, right? I mean, it's a mistake. But I mean, the question is it defining? I don't think it is. I think he'll overcome it. I think he'll get better from it. But other people feel like, hey, you know what? He's been found out. This is what he is. We're going to find out.
Crazy Gaming says, don't always agree with you, Grant, but love the show. Keep them coming. For you, Crazy Gaming, okay. Niners Fan 03 says, how about this draft class? F grade. Yeah, man, who's contributing from this draft class? This one.
Ronnie Bell's not. Ronnie Bell's got a nice jumper in the locker room. Braden Willis is pretty yoked up, but I mean, he doesn't play. Who does play? Who plays from the rookie? Jair Brown makes some plays on special teams. I'd like to see Jair Brown play. I think that, you know, he would run into some guys.
Fish and Chip says, is Papa Kona go for Tuesday? You know I love you, Dad. Oh, yes. He had COVID, but he officially tested negative today. He's back. Dazza says, is Bosa's performance on Bosa or Wilkes' team's game plan for Garrett, Watts, Parsons, etc.? I'm going to say both. I feel like Bosa is, I mean, because this goes back. He had no sacks in the playoffs. He's had 4 sacks in his last 13 games. It's not all Wilkes, but we did mention that Wilkes' soft coverages are hurting all the pass rushers. So it's both. Bass, Spokane, Niner fan says, where the heck is Jair Brown? Make him play cornerback, no? Or just let him play safety. Maxime Laflame says Jimmy Ward is the biggest loss of the offseason, all because the genius thought his veteran safety should play outside corner and mop up duty. Yeah, that was unnecessary. That was a bad loss.
Is he playing right now? Or is he hurt?
I don't know.
It'd be nice. He was a warrior, man. Absolute warrior.
Todd Tran says Oliver would be better safety than cornerback or nickel. I think he'd be better on the bench, personally. The Dark Azrael says, why does Steve Wilkes sit in the booth instead of being on the sidelines? Is he scared of his players? I mean, Vic Fangio sits in the booth. A lot of good ones do, but I think the Niners need Wilkes on the sideline.
Guys who have a defensive backfield bend oftentimes like to sit bird's eye so they can see the coverage.
They can see the coverages. End of story. Yeah. All right. Last one, and then it's time to go watch Monday Night Football. Trey Niner says Wilkes is the issue because he doesn't know his personnel. These cornerbacks aren't good enough to play man-to-man, and that's the biggest issue. Get back to zone defense and let the line go wild. I mean, they've tried zone defense. It hasn't worked. They've tried man coverage. It hasn't worked. They've tried blitzing. It hasn't worked. They've tried rushing forward. It hasn't worked. So, yeah, it's on Wilkes, but I think the players got to own this too. It's bigger than Wilkes.
They're not bringing a lot of hats to the ball. I mean, if you really think about it. And what's happening is that Greenlaw and Warner have had way more collisions than basically everybody, and are now Greenlaw's all banged up. Because you know that he's got to make every play. I mean, they've got to find some better run defenders.
They do. I got to go watch Monday Night Football. Larry, this was a Mondo show. Great stuff. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you humoring me with that long discussion about Brock Purdy. That was good stuff too. Thank you, man.
Brock Purdy. No. We'll see. We'll see, Grant. We'll see. I think you don't think he's that good. I actually think he's pretty good. We'll see where it goes.
Fair enough. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow with my pops. We're gonna do it a little later in the day because there's going to be a trade deadline. And I think it would be silly to do a show before then. So my dad and I will do one sort of in the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. Stay tuned. Stuff is going to happen or not. Either way, we're going to talk about it. See you guys.